Hey guys, how's it going? TJ here with Dead History, and today is our next presidential series installment, and we're going to be looking at the 25th President of the United States, the man behind me, William McKinley. And of course, before we get into William McKinley, what I need all you guys to do first is hit subscribe down below, give us a like and a thumbs up, leave those comments and questions, because we love the comments and questions, and of course, hit that little notification bell so you can be notified every time we release a new video, which is, if Henry was here, he'd tell you, every single week. So now, sit back, because we're going to get into the 25th President of the United States, William McKinley, and this is Dead History. Hey guys, TJ back with you. Yep, guy behind me, that guy right there, William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States. We have some really cool things to tell you about William McKinley. Of course, right off the bat, he was the third president ever in U.S. history to be assassinated while in office. Yeah, he was one of them. There's four of them. He was the third. So we're going to get into all that. We're going to get into his assassination and his death and all that, just like we always do. Another really cool thing about William McKinley is when he was campaigning for presidency, he did it from his front porch in his home in Ohio. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Front porch campaigning, as they called it. So we're going to get into that and tell you what that entailed and exactly what he did. Like I said, some really cool things to tell you about McKinley. He's actually buried in a really cool tomb memorial right in Canton, Ohio. Canton, Ohio, where the Football Hall of Fame is, for any of you sports fans out there. And I visited there last year, and it was actually closed. But there might be a special treat in store during this video series where you actually get to see me go live to the tomb in Canton, Ohio, because now it's open to the public again. So we'll see. But what I need you to do, sit back and relax. You already did the likes. You already did the subscribes. You did all that great stuff. And again, thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate it. Henry and I, we love doing these videos, but we can't do it without you guys. Without you guys watching, supporting us, commenting, giving us advice and opinions and stuff to make us even better. We love it. Keep it up. So now, if Henry was here, he would tell you, grab those potato chips and sit back and relax as we are going to look in our next presidential series installment at the man behind me, the 25th President of the United States, William McKinley. Enjoy. Hey guys, how's it going? TJ here with Dead History. And welcome to our next presidential series installment, taking a look at the 25th President of the United States, William McKinley. And I am flying solo this week. Henry's not with me. So I'm going to jump right in here and kind of get started. William McKinley, William McKinley Jr. to be exact, was born in 1843 in Niles, Ohio. He was the seventh of 9 children of William McKinley Sr. and Nancy Allison McKinley. The McKinleys were of English and Scot-Irish descent and had settled in western Pennsylvania in the 18th century. Their immigrant ancestor was David McKinley, born in Dervcock, County Antrim, in present-day Northern Ireland. William McKinley Sr. was born in Pennsylvania, in Pine Township, Mercer County. His family moved to Ohio when the senior McKinley was a boy, settling in New Lisbon, or now Lisbon. He met Nancy Allison there, and they later married. The Allison family was of mostly English descent and among Pennsylvania's earliest settlers. The family trade on both sides was iron making. McKinley Sr. operated foundries throughout Ohio in New Lisbon, Niles, Poland, and finally Canton. The McKinley household was like many from Ohio's Western Reserve, steeped in Whiggish and abolitionist sentiment, the latter based on the family's staunch Methodist beliefs. The younger William also followed in the Methodist tradition, becoming active in the local Methodist church at the age of 16. He was a lifelong Methodist. In 1852, the family moved from Niles to Poland, Ohio, so that their children could attend its better schools. Graduating from Poland Seminary in 1859, McKinley enrolled the following year at Allegheny College in Meadville, Pennsylvania. He was an honorary member of the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity. He remained at Allegheny for 1 year, returning home in 1860 after becoming ill and depressed. He also studied at Mount Union College in Alliance, Ohio, as a board member. Although his health recovered, family finances declined, and McKinley was unable to return to Allegheny, and he began working as a postal clerk and later took a job teaching at a school near Poland, Ohio. As a young boy, William McKinley, he actually enjoyed ice skating, he enjoyed marbles, and he enjoyed shooting his bow and arrows and swimming. As I said, he was the seventh of 9 children born to William McKinley Sr. and Nancy Allison McKinley. He did attend Allegheny College, like I said, for a short time before becoming ill, returning home. He never did finish his studies there, but he was given an honorary degree when he returned to give a speech as the governor of Ohio. Another really cool thing about William McKinley is the Civil War. He is, interestingly enough, the last of the Civil War presidents. William McKinley did fight in the Civil War. He was in the Union Army. So when the Southern states seceded from the Union and the American Civil War began, thousands of men in Ohio volunteered for service. Among them were McKinley and his cousin, William McKinley Osborne, who enlisted as privates in the newly formed Poland Guards in June of 1861. The men left for Columbus, where they were consolidated with other small units to form the 23rd Ohio Infantry. So, as I said, McKinley, he was in the Civil War. During the Civil War, William McKinley fought at the Battle of Antietam. And during the battle, he drove a wagon full of supplies, including coffee, to the front line. Later, during his political career, his opponents referred to him as Coffee Bill. So, pretty interesting little fun fact there. So McKinley, like I said, in the Civil War, he was an officer in the Union Army. Actually, he made it all the way to brevet major in the 23rd Ohio Infantry in the American Civil War. And he's the last one. After him, there was no more presidents that were ever a part of the Civil War. So he was the last to actually serve, the country and the Union Army in the Civil War. So pretty cool, interesting fact about McKinley, I thought, at least. And as one of my subscribers has pointed out to me, I should have like the little catchphrase, I found that interesting, or that's pretty interesting at least, or something to that effect, because I'm always saying that during these videos, of course. So now, after the Civil War ended in 1865, William McKinley decided on a career in the law and began studying in the office of an attorney in Poland, Ohio. The following year, he continued his studies by attending Albany Law School in New York State. And after studying there for less than a year, McKinley returned home and was admitted to the bar in Warren, Ohio in March of 1867. In that same year, he moved to Canton, Ohio, the county seat of Stark County, and he set up a small office. He soon formed a partnership with George W. Belden, an experienced lawyer and former judge. His practice was successful enough for him to buy a block of buildings on Main Street in Canton, Ohio, which provided him with a small but consistent rental income for decades to come. When his Army friend, Rutherford B. Hayes, was nominated for governor in 1867, William McKinley made speeches on his behalf in Stark County, his first foray into politics. The county was closely divided between Democrats and Republicans, but Hayes carried it that year in his statewide victory. In 1869, McKinley ran for the office of prosecuting attorney of Stark County, an office that had historically been held by Democrats, and was unexpectedly elected. And when McKinley ran for re-election in 1871, the Democrats nominated William A. Lynch, a prominent local lawyer, and McKinley was defeated by 143 votes. As McKinley's professional career progressed, so too did his social life start to blossom. He met and he wooed Ida Saxton, the daughter of a prominent Canton family. Ida Saxton and William McKinley, they married on January 25th of 1871 in the newly built First Presbyterian Church of Canton. Ida soon joined her husband's Methodist church. Their first child, Catherine, was born on Christmas Day in 1871. A second daughter, Ida, followed in 1873, but she died that same year. McKinley's wife descended into a deep depression at her baby's death, and her health, which was never robust, declined. 2 years later, Catherine died of typhoid fever. Ida never recovered from her daughter's deaths, and the McKinleys had no more children. Ida McKinley developed epilepsy around the same time and depended strongly on her husband's presence. He remained a devoted husband and tended to his wife's medical and emotional needs for the rest of his life. Little interesting fact, too, about McKinley with Ida. William McKinley once spilled a tray of strawberry ice cream on Ida Saxton, who was wearing a white dress. So kind of a little funny fact about McKinley. Ida McKinley, she insisted that William McKinley continue his increasingly successful career in law and politics. He attended the state Republican convention that nominated Hayes for a third term as governor in 1875. And William McKinley campaigned again for his old friend in the election that fall. The next year, McKinley undertook a high-profile case defending a group of striking coal miners who were arrested for rioting after a clash with strikebreakers. So, interesting little thing. So, McKinley, he was known for standing among laborers. His good standing with labor became useful as he campaigned for the Republican nomination of Ohio's 17th Congressional District. Delegates to the county conventions thought he could attract blue-collar voters, and in August of 1876, McKinley was nominated. By that time, Hayes had been nominated for president, and McKinley campaigned for him while running his own congressional campaign. Both were successful. McKinley, campaigning mostly on his support for a protective tariff, defeated the Democratic nominee Levi L. Lamborn by 3,300 votes. Hayes won a hotly disputed election to reach the presidency. McKinley's victory came at a personal cost. His income as a congressman would be half of what he had earned as a lawyer. A couple interesting things about McKinley when he was growing up. McKinley taught in a one-room schoolhouse, earning $25 a month early on in his life. William McKinley, he could remember names and faces even after meeting someone for only a very brief moment. Kind of an interesting little thing there. Another interesting fact about McKinley, William McKinley became president of the YMCA in 1868. And in 1869, he secured a rent-free space for the YMCA in the First National Bank building. So pretty interesting, cool little thing there. Let me see if there's some other facts I could tell you about McKinley that are not surrounding his presidency. Yep, I just touched on this a little bit. He helped keep a gang of coal miners out of prison. McKinley, who I said was born in 1843 in Niles, Ohio, studied at Allegheny College in Pennsylvania and Mount Union College in Alliance, Ohio. Didn't graduate. After the Civil War erupted, he volunteered for the Union Army. He rose to the rank of second lieutenant and received a brevet commission to major. Following the war, he apprenticed under an attorney, studied law for less than a year at New York's Albany College. As I said, admitted to the bar back in Ohio in March of 1876. Then 9 years later, McKinley defended a group of striking coal miners who allegedly incited a riot at a mine in Tuscarawas Valley before tussling with the Ohio militia sent by Governor Rutherford B. Hayes. All but one of the miners was acquitted, and McKinley refused any compensation for his services. So, pretty cool stuff. At least I thought that was pretty interesting. So now, his political career, Mr. William McKinley. McKinley took his congressional seat in October of 1877 when President Rutherford B. Hayes summoned Congress into special session. With the Republicans in the minority, McKinley was given unimportant committee assignments, which he undertook consciously. McKinley's friendship with Rutherford B. Hayes did McKinley little good on Capitol Hill. The president was not well regarded by many leaders there. So the young Congressman McKinley broke with Hayes on the question of the currency, but it did not affect their friendship. The United States had effectively been placed on the gold standard by the Coinage Act of 1873 when silver prices dropped significantly. Many sought to make silver again a legal tender equally with gold. Such a course would be would be very detrimental. But advocates argued that the economic benefits of the increased money supply would be worth the inflation. Opponents warned that free silver would not bring the promised benefits and would harm the United States in international trade. McKinley voted for the Bland-Allison Act of 1878, which mandated large government purchases of silver for striking into money, and also joined the large majorities in each house that overrode Hayes' veto of the legislation. In doing so, McKinley voted against the position of the House Republican leader James Garfield, a fellow Ohioan and his friend. From his first term in Congress, McKinley was a strong advocate of protective tariffs. The primary purposes of such imposts was not to raise revenue, but to allow American manufacturing to develop by giving it a price advantage in the domestic market over foreign competitors. So then eventually James Garfield was elected president in 1880, and it created a vacancy on the House Ways and Means Committee. McKinley was selected to fill that vacancy, gaining a spot on the most powerful committee after only 2 terms. McKinley increasingly became a significant figure in national politics. In 1880, he served a brief term as Ohio's representative on the Republican National Committee. In 1884, he was elected a delegate to that year's Republican Convention, where he served as chair of the Committee on Resolutions and won plaudits for his handling of the convention when called upon to preside. By 1886, McKinley, Senator John Sherman, and Governor Joseph B. Foraker were considered the leaders of the Republican Party in Ohio. So, pretty interesting stuff. McKinley started to rise through as a congressman, worked his way up, and he was really starting to get noticed on the national stage as far as politics was concerned. So kind of fast forwarding a bit now. Recognizing McKinley's potential, the Democrats, whenever they controlled the Ohio legislature, sought to gerrymander or redistrict him out of office. In 1878, McKinley was redistricted to the 16th Congressional District, but he won anyway. So, interestingly enough. So one thing I did want to touch on real quick is the McKinley Tariff of 1890. So when William McKinley was a representative in Congress, this tariff took place. Obviously, it was named after him. I'll give you kind of just a brief overview synopsis of what it was. The Tariff Act of 1890, commonly called the McKinley Tariff, was an act of the United States Congress framed by then Representative William McKinley that became law on October 1st of 1890. The tariff raised the average duty on imports to almost 50%, an act designed to protect domestic industries from foreign competition. Protectionism, a tactic supported by Republicans, was fiercely debated by politicians and condemned by Democrats. The McKinley Tariff was replaced with the Wilson-Gorman Tariff Act in 1894, which lowered tariff rates. So that's kind of just a little bit of an overview, and then something else I'll read to you. October 1st of 1890, the McKinley Tariff of 1890. The McKinley Tariff of 1890 became law, boosting protective tariff rates of nearly 50% on average for many American products. Ways and Means Committee Chairman William McKinley of Ohio led the effort in the House. The new legislation increased rates for many manufactured goods, while it placed items such as sugar and coffee on the free list. When Richard W. Townsend of Illinois, a stalwart Democratic opponent, delivered his customary protest against the measure on the House floor, Republicans jeered him. Speaker Thomas Brackett Reed of Maine dryly explained, "It is not the speech we complain of so much as the monotony of the as the monotony that was good. As the monotony of the thing. We want a change." The House passed the bill 164 to 142, and it slowly worked its way through the Senate. President Benjamin Harrison convinced Senate allies to insert a provision permitting the president to raise duties to match foreign rate hikes and to sign agreements to open foreign markets without congressional approval. McKinley unsuccessfully opposed the provision on the grounds that it yielded closely held congressional powers. Many voters, perceiving the McKinley Tariff as a boon to wealthy industrialists, registered their displeasure at the polls that fall. House Republicans lost 93 seats, and Democrats swung comfortably into a commanding majority. So, just an interesting thing, the McKinley Tariff. Obviously, William McKinley was obviously the one who really was behind this. It was named after him. He was a big advocate for this. So, I did want to just mention that because that is a big part of his, time as a representative in Congress. That was probably his biggest contributing factor when he was a representative before his presidency. So, just wanted to touch on that. The McKinley Tariff. Thank you very much, guys. Now, before McKinley completed his terms in Congress, he met with a delegation of Ohioans urging him to run for governor. Governor James E. Campbell, a Democrat who had defeated Foraker in 1889, was seeked to re-election in 1891. The Ohio Republican Party remained divided, but McKinley quietly arranged for Foraker to nominate him at the 1891 State Republican Convention, which chose McKinley by acclamation. The former congressman spent much of the second half of 1891 campaigning against Campbell, beginning in his birthplace of Niles. Hanna, however, was little seen in the campaign. He spent much of his time raising funds for the election of legislators pledged to vote for Sherman in the 1892 senatorial election. McKinley won the 1891 election by some 20,000 votes the following January. Sherman, with considerable assistance from Hanna, turned back a challenge by Foraker to win the legislature's vote for another term in the U.S. Senate. Ohio's governor had relatively little power. So now we have McKinley, congressman, now he's a governor. And the interesting thing about McKinley is he served as governor twice. He served as governor, just to give you an idea here, he was governor of Ohio from January 11th of 1892 to January 13th of 1896. And he was in Congress from 1885 to 1891. So, pretty interesting stuff. McKinley definitely had, he was not a stranger to politics. He'd been a congressman from Ohio. Later on, he'd been a governor twice, like I just said. So he definitely, before his presidency and before his presidential campaign, he was no stranger to politics, especially in Ohio. He was very involved in Ohio politics, had some very, very powerful friends. President Hayes, President Garfield, they were definitely friends of William McKinley's. So, interesting stuff about McKinley leading up to his presidency. He was a smart man. He was a very intelligent man. He had a lot of charisma. We're going to get into it in part 2 about his presidency and then, of course, his assassination. But he was not one of these guys that, we had a long string of presidents who were, some of them were not even very familiar in politics. Some of them, people might even consider not to be the most intelligent people or hardworking people. Some of them, as, the last president before McKinley, yes, that was Cleveland, because Cleveland was the 24th as well. But before him, Benjamin Harrison, we just learned in our series here that he was a very, very cold, the human iceberg, as he was nicknamed. Not a very warm, welcoming person. McKinley was the opposite of this. William McKinley was suave. He was charismatic. The people loved him. He was very, very good at speaking publicly. He knew how to work politics. I mean, he was a politician by every sense of the word. So, interesting stuff. Now, what you're going to see on your screen, I'm going to show you guys the birthplace of William McKinley. I have not been there, but this is the birthplace of William McKinley. Again, any of these photos that you're seeing here are stock photos that I found online. So this is just some birthplace photos of William McKinley. Some other photos probably during, his youth and that sort of thing. Just other interesting old kind of photos of when he was growing up that I had found, stock photos online, of course. Now, part 2, tomorrow. We have a lot to cover in part 2. We're going to get into the presidency. We're going to get into the election. We're going to get into, he did serve one full term, and then he was reelected for a second term before he was assassinated. So we're going to get into all that. And then, of course, we're going to get into the assassination of William McKinley and basically what happened, who the assassin was, what happened, where it took place, where he died, all that stuff. And then, of course, the gravesite and the tomb and the memorial of William McKinley. And yes, including the assassination sites. I have seen it all, been there, and I will be showing you guys in part 2, including, ready? The assassin's gravesite. Yes, there is some mystery surrounding that. You'll find out about that tomorrow in part 2. But I've been there, and you're going to see the pictures to prove it and show it. So, early life of William McKinley here in part 1. Born in Niles, Ohio. He was born in 1843. He married his wife. They did have 2 children. Unfortunately, both those children died. They didn't have any more children. So interesting stuff. And then, he was a lawyer. He was even a teacher for a little while. He did all these types of things, but big into, of course, law and politics. And he spent a long time in politics before becoming president. As I said, a congressman and a governor twice before reaching the office of presidency. So we're going to get into the presidency tomorrow. Stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed this part 1. William McKinley, only the 3rd president in the history of our country to ever be assassinated while in office. Very excited to get into that tomorrow. Stay tuned. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the comments, the questions, all of it. We love it. Keep it coming, please. We love those. And as always, stay tuned. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.